Hello lovely people, this video is going to be similar to Show My Tune, one of those episodes, but slightly different because I want to show you something that a lot of you might learn something. Now we're used to, whenever somebody's showing a good quality install with good system, we're used to measurement being like almost perfect and there's no issues and no nothing. However, in this one, I want to show you some problems. So first of all, let's have a look at the actual car and the install. The guy with this install, he's a Lithuanian guy. He has a Alfa Romeo, and we can see he has some Audison stuff, JL subwoofer, focal flags, two-way in the front. Now the subwoofer is installed here on the side in a factory location, factory box. He just upgraded the subwoofer. The doors, we can see it was deadened, the panels and everything, it was done properly with rings. And this is the door speaker, which is fine. But the main thing I want to show you is the tweeter install and the location. So there we go. The factory locations are in the dash, you can see here in the corner. And this is the tweeter. And the tweeter is installed in this factory grill. You can see it's put in there, hot glue, nothing wrong with it, everything is fine. But the location itself is that it is behind this honeycomb grill. It is in the dash in the corner and it's firing up the glass. So now we know that with these locations, usually we have problems even with mid-range or wideband drivers. And this is a tweeter, so this distance till glass, you know that is going to cause us some problems. So let's have a look at the measurements and see what we have. Because not every system is perfect, but we want to make it as perfect as we can. So let's have a look at the woofers. These are the woofers, left and right. Now obviously doors, they do have their own problems that you cannot avoid. And we have a very similar situation that we have in most cars. So in his case, the left one, which is this one, the green one, is on the driver's side. So we know that we're going to have that driver's side null. And we do have it here. It's quite severe, quite wide at 150 Hertz, spot on. And another cancellation is at 83. This is due to the length. So basically this, the first cancellation is due to the length of the car. And this is due to the width of the car. But we do have the extension quite good, all the way up to 3K. The right woofer, it's in a much better situation. It does have something happening here, and not bad all the way up to 2.5K with a little bit of scoop out here. Now again, with the woofers, we do notice in a lot of cars there's like a scoop out at about 400-500 Hertz, and this is again due to the cabin dimensions and everything, due to the center console and all that kind of stuff. And this is the point where I would always advise to have a wideband driver playing down to 300-400 Hertz rather than a tweeter just to cover the top, because with this you just have a scoop out. It is workable, you can try to boost it, but the problem is that in his specific case, he has a built-in DSP amplifier. So the boosting and compensating with gains when you cut stuff, it doesn't really work. So you have to be very careful with EQing stuff. And now the tweeter, the left tweeter and the right tweeter. So we can see the level is way up there, and let's have a look at the individual tweeters. So these are tweeters with, I believe, like 1K crossover or something, just for protection. However, with the tweeters, we see big, massive issues. With proper install, if you have a tweeter in a pillar or in the sills, you usually see a much smoother graph with none of these big massive cancellations. Now we can see that there's a dip here at what, 2.8K, and there's another one at 6.6K, and then it kind of rolls off. So if you have both drivers behaving kind of the same, you know then it's going to be an install thing, because the install was done symmetrically. Now these two dips are caused only by the install of the tweeters. So one of them, I won't be able to tell which one, or maybe both of them, are basically the cancellation that's happening because of the sound bouncing off the windshield and canceling each other at the listening position. And the only way to really avoid this is either to bring the tweeter on the very, very top of the grill, not like here buried under the grill, but bring it on the very top to make it like on the surface flush, and then you would have a much smaller distance to the glass, or put it like in a little pod and have it on axis, and to avoid that reflection from the glass altogether. But yeah, reflections from the glass with a tweeter is not nice at all, and we see that it rolls off above 10k. So basically you have no top end, what, 13k, and that's pretty much it. So by its own, without any EQ, it's not gonna sound nice at all. Now, one thing to note is that all of this energy, like below 6k, all of these two mountains are actually the acoustical boost that you have due to the location. When you have mid-ranges in the dash as well, you have the same boost in the lower frequencies, but this is not the actual tweeter level. This is basically being reinforced by the corner loading, by the actual location. Let's have a look at the subwoofer as well. So he does have rear speakers as well, but we're not going to look at the rears because they're not interesting at all. And that little 8-inch subwoofer. So this is a very typical normal response of an 8-inch subwoofer. You do have a peak at 40 Hertz. Usually, if the box is slightly on the smaller side, even for a 10 or 12 inch, you're going to have a massive peak at 50 or even 60 Hertz. So a peak at 40, it's not as bad. We need to remember that it is an 8-inch and you cannot push it really low. So you could literally EQ this down to like 30 to 35, like to cut off all that top end. However, it's not really realistic to ask a small 8-inch to play down to 30 Hertz. So my advice was just to leave this as it is and just try to match it with the front end. So let's have a look. He did add crossovers for the mid-bass drivers, and as well he measured the near field response. So near field response kinda tells us if there's any actual problems with the driver. So this is one woofer, this is the other woofer, and we can see from the near field response that they measure, apart from the level, they measure identical. A little bit here and there is not a problem, so there's no issues with the install. All the way they play very, very nice with no resonances and no suckouts. However, if we're gonna have a look at the near field response of the tweeter, so this is one tweeter and this is the other tweeter, this to me looks abnormal, because tweeters should have a response, a very nice and flat response. Now my thinking that this could be caused if he took the near field response in this location by holding the microphone like next to the grill. In that case, you would still have some stuff bouncing inside, like inside here, because it is quite deep. You can see in there is a little gap between the tweeter and the grill. So sound is bouncing there, sound is bouncing from the glass, and you still have this suck out. So this to me is install related and shows a big massive problems that needs to be fixed with an install. However, if we opted for factory locations, we know that this is gonna come with a compromise. So you can try to tune it out. It's not ideal, it's not a really good practice, but we can try to do something. And basically we can see that this massive dip corresponds kind of with this one, because it depends on the distance of the microphone as well. So yeah, it's not really, really nice. So let's try to EQ it and see what we have. This is the response with the crossovers that he put. I think he put 80 Hertz on the high pass and something like 2 or 3K on the low pass, which is perfectly fine. So in this case, if we're gonna have a response like that, I'm just gonna go to the EQ tab. I'm gonna choose a target of 103k, and I'm going to bring the level down to 45 for now. So we can see that we can match it something like this, and it's going to be fine. So this is probably going to go down to 70 or something like that. So this, I'm not sure what kind of peak is this. It might be engine noise, it might be something buzzing in the cabin, but this measurement needs to be redone just to see if this is the driver buzzing somewhere or it's something else. But if we exclude this part and take the response from like 60-70 hertz from here all the way there, I would EQ it something like this. This range, I could boost it because it is high in frequency, so the excursion, driver excursion, is not an issue. Let's put 400 hertz or Q of, let's say 3, and let's boost it 5 dB and see what happens. Something like this. Yeah, exactly. So after the boost, we can see we brought it up. Now, if you have a DSP amplifier, you would have to compensate this boost with the channel gain. That means you need to bring down the channel gain in order not to clip the signal at this range. If you have a separate DSP and a separate amplifier, this can be kind of readjusted with the gains on the amplifier if you need to. But yeah, I would do something like this, and I would just EQ it from 70 all the way up to 5k, match response to target, and there we go. This is how I would EQ this driver, something like this. Now, yes, there's a lot of EQ bands, but if you want, you can minimize them either by changing the flatness target, either by adding some smoothing to the response. There's multiple ways. So this is the right one. Now let's have a look at the left one, which is the driver side with the driver side null. So we're going to keep the same target, which was 70 to 3k, and let's bring it down, something like this. So for this one, we can do a few things. If I'm going to choose a target like this to match the slope on the high end and kind of here, this would need revisiting as well. Then obviously we can EQ it all the way and make it super flat. However, we are losing way too much energy here, much more than I would like to. So what I would do personally, I would choose a target of something like this, and then I would change the low pass filter. If it was crossed at like 3k, I would try to cross it at 3.5k just to bring that level up to match with the target, because the crossovers between left and right, they not necessarily have to match. And then what I would do, I would boost this a little bit, not too much. This boost is going to be totally fine. All of this to EQ, and this one I would leave it alone. I wouldn't touch it, because 150 hertz, there is quite a lot of energy, and if you're going to boost it, it's not going to do much, and it's just going to rattle the door to pieces. So it's kind of useless to boost all of this. And this, the bottom end, it is what it is. It's not going to follow the target, and it is the case with a lot of drivers, a lot of mid-bass drivers, that they don't follow the target below like 70 or 60 hertz, in this case below 86, and I would just leave it as it is without touching it. So let's try to EQ it very quickly. Let's try to EQ from 86 all the way up to 2.8k. Let's see what REW does. There we go, and it did exactly as I said. Left this and boost this. Now what you can do, this is the band number 11 and 12. Let's have a look at them. How much is the boost? 11 and 9. So it is like 6 dB and 4 dB boost. So yeah, it is quite a lot of boost. You can try to toggle those bands on and off and see if they add some distortion, or but if they don't add distortion, it's fine. I would leave it as it is. Okay, so let's have a look at the tweeters, because the tweeters are, yeah. So since both of these tweeters are kind of very similar, I'm just going to do just one, because the second one is going to be almost the same. So this is with open, this response is with open crossover, kinda. So what I need to do is first check the crossover just to match the target. Let's add a target of bass limited. Let's cross it at, let's say 3k. I'm not sure where he wanted to cross. Now choosing the target for this is a bit problematic. I'm going to change the color so you could see it a bit better, because it is a very light color. It's difficult for you to see. Let's make it a bit darker like this. There we go. Now with a target like that, what I want from a tweeter, because the whole purpose of the tweeter is to play high. If you're going to choose a target something like this, you have extension only up to 12-13K, which is not as bad. But if you're going to choose the target like this, if you don't want to lose any energy or anything, like for example like this, and you're going to think, oh, I'm going to boost this and it's going to be fine, but the extension is going to be only up to 10K. So tweets up to 10K to me is too low. So I want the tweeter to play much higher than that. So I would choose a target like this. In that case, I'm eliminating this dip because I can EQ everything down from this. And this, it is what, 5 dB, 4 dB, so I can boost it with no issues because this is 13, 14, 15, 16K. The tweet is going to be totally fine with this little boost of 4 dB. No issues, no problems at all. And we can have that extension all the way up to 20K if we want. So this is with an open crossover, so we need to find a different crossover. Now this crossover here, I put this, is not going to be the actual accurate electrical crossover because it is a combination between what's already applied while taking the measurement plus this. So what you would have to do is you just have to increase the crossover on the DSP and try to match this. So let's try 3.5. There we go. Even higher than that, 4K. So yeah, this doesn't really work, 12 dB. We need a steeper crossover. So 24 dB is gonna be, yeah, something like that. Let's go back to 3.5K, and it's something like this, something that I am happy about. So we have the response following from 1.1K all the way up till here, and you can see all this dip, it's kind of goes into the crossover. All this dip is here and all this is here. So now what I need to do, I need to generate from predicted, and then I'm going to open the EQ again because this is just how REW works. There we go. I'm going to make it red again just to see better, and now we can start EQing. So let's EQ from 1.17 all the way up to 20K because I want to see what it does. And let's match the target to curve. So yeah, what it did everything apart from this boost. It didn't boost anything. So now I can add manually just because I can. PK, let's choose a frequency of 16K. Q of 3, and let's boost by 5 dB. There we go. Yep, even 6 dB probably it'll be fine. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So now we have the extension, yeah, all the way up to 16, 17. We can say we can have it all the way up to 20K. We can add another 1 dB boost here. But basically from this, we ended up with this. So yes, you are losing quite a lot of level with this EQ. We can see the level went from that to that. Let me remove this. This was the left side. There we go. So we lost basically all of this. However, we do have a very nice response. And again, you could choose a slightly higher target level, but then you're losing all the top end extension from the tweeter. So up to 12K, to me personally, I think it's way too low. I would want this. So this is an example of how with tuning you can try to fix stuff, but this is very bad practice because this is an example of when with the tuning you're trying to fix install issues. So if I'm gonna have a look at the woofer left side like this, yeah, after the EQ, the woofer, because the line of the woofer was something like this, so it's not that far off. You just bring the woofer maybe a few dBs down and it will match the tweeters in level. So it's not ideal, but it's just sometimes when you have issues like this, you can try this workaround. Choose a very low target level and just EQ the hell out of it. And again, as I mentioned, this is bad practice because all of this could be fixed by having the tweeter on top of the grill or next to it on an A-pillar. And this would solve basically all the issues that you have with this install. But again, when you opt for factory locations, you have to live with the compromises. So this is basically what I wanted to show you, that not all systems are perfect. However, even non-perfect systems can be tuned to achieve quite good results. Now with this tune, obviously it's not going to be super loud just because we had to EQ quite a lot of down, but it's going to sound miles better. However, I already advised the owner, fix the install first and then do a proper tune, because everything starts with a quality install. So that's it. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one.